The day the humans came. The sky over Zorth Prime burned crimson as the High Council convened in the spire of celestial accord. Speaker Vela's silver crest trembled with irritation as she studied the holographic projection flickering above the obsidian table. "Another unidentified vessel," she hissed, her voice like wind through frost-laden reeds. "The third cycle. Probably more scavengers from the outer systems." Across from her, tactician Korvax adjusted his neural interface. His four eyes narrowing as data scrolled across his vision. "This one's different," he murmured. "It's not broadcasting any known transponder codes. And its energy signature, it's erratic, like it's been through hell." Vela dismissed the concern with a flick of her talons. "If they're foolish enough to trespass in sovereign space, let the defense fleet vaporize them." But Korvax had already signaled the comms officer. "Hail them." Static hiss, then resolved into the image of a being unlike any Zorathian had seen before. Bipedal, asymmetrical, its face a patchwork of exposed pink flesh and dark, matted fur along the jaw. One of its eyes was swollen shut, the other a startling, unnatural blue. "Zorathian vessel," the creature rasped, its voice raw. "This is Captain Elias Vance of the Dawn Chaser. We're requesting emergency docking." Vela recoiled. "You dare demand—" "We're not armed," Vance interrupted, bearing flat, blunt teeth in what might have been aggression or exhaustion. "We've got wounded, and if you don't let us in, you're all dead." A murmur rippled through the council. Korvax leaned forward. "Explain." Vance's image flickered as the ship shuddered. "We're running from the Krellick swarm. They're coming, faster than we thought." Vela scoffed. "The Krellicks are a myth. Tell that to the 17 worlds they've eaten." Vance coughed, a wet, ugly sound. "Your shields won't stop them. Your weapons won't scratch them. But we have. Let us land, or enjoy being the 18th course." The transmission cut out. Silence. Then alarms. The spire's panoramic windows lit up with streaks of light as the defense fleet mobilized. Korvax's mandibles clenched. "You heard him. We don't have time to debate." Vela hesitated, pride warring with the gnawing unease in her gut. That creature, that human, had looked at her like she was already dead. "Fine," she snapped. "But if this is a trick, I'll execute them myself." As the Dawn Chaser limped into the docking bay, its hull scorched and bleeding coolant, none of them noticed the distant stars winking out, one by one. The day the humans came. The docking bay doors groaned shut behind the Dawn Chaser, sealing the humans inside like wounded animals in a trap. Vela watched on the observation deck, her crest stiff with disdain as the vessel's battered airlock hissed open. A stench rolled out, burnt metal, stale sweat, and something acrid like old blood. The first human to emerge was smaller than she expected, clad in a patched-up exosuit streaked with carbon scoring. They pulled off their helmet, revealing a face younger than Vance's, their dark skin slick with sweat. Medical, they croaked. "Now!" Zorathian medics hesitated until Korvax snapped his claws. "Move!" The humans spilled out, 23 in total, half carried by their comrades. Their injuries were grotesque by Zorathian standards, limbs wrapped in crude plasma-sealed bandages, eyes glazed with painkillers, one woman dragging a leg that bent the wrong way. And yet, they moved with purpose, their voices low and urgent as they unloaded crates marked with jagged symbols. Vela descended the ramp, her robes flaring. "You bring filth onto our—" A human looked up, a child, barely waist-high, clutching a dented hydration pack. Their eyes, wide, white-rimmed, locked onto Vela's crest. The speaker froze. "Ma'am." Vance limped forward, his breath labored. "We appreciate the hospitality, but we need to prep your defenses yesterday." Korvax stepped between them. "You said the Krellicks follow you. How long?" Vance's jaw tightened. "If we're lucky, 6 hours." A laugh burst from Vela. "You expect us to believe a swarm that devours worlds could be outrun by this?" She gestured at the crumbling ship. The humans went very still. The one with the broken leg spoke first. "We didn't outrun them." She bared her teeth. "We lured them." Silence. Then the lights flickered. A klaxon blared. Korvax's neural interface lit up with frantic alerts. "Something's breaching the outer sensor net," he said, voice hollow. "It's big." Vance closed his eyes. "They're early." Chaos erupted. Zorathian guards scrambled, their plasma rifles humming to life. The humans moved faster. They pried open crates, revealing jury-rigged devices, jagged fusion batteries, coils of superconductors, a dozen mismatched sidearms. The child darted to a console, tiny fingers flying over controls. Vela grabbed Vance's arm. "You used us as bait." "No." He wrenched free. "We gave you a fighting chance. Now either help us or get out of the way." Outside the bay's reinforced windows, the stars vanished. Not from light, from mass. A shadow blotted out the cosmos, vast and bristling with spines. The Krullik swarm had arrived, and the humans, broken and bleeding, stood ready to meet them. The day the humans came. The docking bay trembled as the first Krullik's harvester struck the orbital shield. The impact sent a shockwave through the station, knocking Vela to her knees. Above her, the observation window fractured into a spiderweb of cracks as something colossal scraped against the hull, a sound like planets grinding together. The humans didn't flinch. Vance was shouting orders, his voice raw but steady. "Lay down the pulse grid. Myers, get those emitters online. Asterisk now. Asterisk, the one with a broken leg." Myers dragged herself to her console, her fingers a blur over the controls. The child, impossibly, was helping, splicing cables with a focus that made Vela's crest prickle. Korvax grabbed Vance's shoulder. "Your plan. Explain it." Vance didn't look at him. "Krulliks hunt in waves. First, the harvesters soften you up. Then the drones swarm. Then the queen cleans up." A monitor flickered, showing the shield integrity plummeting. "We don't have the firepower to kill the queen, but we can make her choke on you." Vela hissed. "You want us to die for you, "No," the child said suddenly. Their voice was thin but clear. "We're going to make you sting." The lights died. For 3 heartbeats, the bay was pitch black. Then emergency glow strips flared, painting the humans in ghostly blue. Their devices hummed to life, throwing jagged shadows against the walls. Outside, the swarm descended. Harvesters, each the size of a warship, pulsed with bioluminescent veins, their hooked appendages tearing at the shields. Behind them, drones seethed like locusts, their chitinous bodies clicking in unison. The queen loomed in the distance, a jagged silhouette against the void. "Shields at 12%, Korvax reported. Vance nodded. "Now." Myers slammed her palm onto the console. The pulse grid ignited. A ripple of energy tore through the bay, then outward, a shock wave of distorted gravity that shredded the first wave of drones like paper. Harvesters recoiled, their flesh bubbling where the pulse touched them. The queen shrieked, a sound that vibrated through the station's bones. But the swarm didn't retreat. It adapted. Drones split apart, reforming into thicker carapaces. Harvesters rerouted their biocircuitry. The queen's spines flexed, readying a retaliatory strike. Vela realized the truth too late. "It's learning." Vance was already moving. "Then we teach it one last lesson." He grabbed a detonator from his belt, his eyes meeting Myers', then the child's. A silent exchange. Korvax understood first. "You can't." The child hugged Myers tight. Vance thumbed the detonator. The Dawn Chaser S-core went critical. Light swallowed the bay. When it faded, the swarm was gone, vaporized in a blast. The queen's carcass drifted in pieces. Her spines melted to stumps. Silence. Then, from the wreckage, a cough. The child crawled out, clutching Myers' hand. They were the only ones left. Vela staggered toward them, her robe singed, her voice broken. "Asterisk why?" "Asterisk." The child looked up, their eyes too old for their face. "Because you mattered," they said simply, and in the ashes of the docking bay, the Zorathians finally understood. The day the humans came. The silence after the explosion was heavier than the void itself. Vela stood amidst the wreckage of the docking bay, her talons digging into her palms hard enough to draw ichor. The acrid stench of vaporized metal and burnt flesh clung to the air, but it was a child's words that seared her mind. Because you mattered. The little human, Lena Myers had called her, knelt beside the scorched remnants of the Dawn Chaser, her small fingers tracing the edges of a half-melted data pad. The last echoes of human voices crackled from its dying speakers, fragmented and warped. Korvax approached, his movements uncharacteristically slow. "The swarm's remnants are retreating," he said, his voice stripped of its usual certainty. "But they'll regroup. They always do." Lena didn't look up. "Not for a while. The Queen's dead. They'll fight each other now." Vela's crest flattened. "You speak as if you know them." Lena's shoulders hunched. "We ran from them for years." "You learn." A flicker of movement. Myers groaned, shifting in the rubble. One of her legs was gone below the knee. The stump hastily cauterized. Lena scrambled to her side, pressing a discarded hydration pack to her lips. Myers drank greedily, then coughed, her gaze locking onto Vela. "You're welcome," she rasped. Vela recoiled. "You expect gratitude? You led them here." "And we stopped them," Myers snapped. "Or did you miss the part where we died for you?" The words hung like a blade. Korvax stepped between them. "Enough. The humans are gone. The swarm is scattered. What matters now is what we do." Lena lifted her chin. "You have to leave." Vela hissed. "This is our home." "And it's not safe anymore," Lena interrupted. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. "The swarm marks what it finds. They'll come back. Not tomorrow. Maybe not in 100 cycles. But they'll come." Myers nodded weakly. "The Dawn Chaser NAV logs are intact. Coordinates for safe worlds. Hidden colonies. Take them." A bitter laugh escaped Vela. "You think we'll flee like your kind did?" Lena's eyes burned. "We didn't flee. We fought. And when we couldn't win, we survived." She jabbed a finger at the stars. "You want to die here for pride? Fine. But don't pretend it's bravery." The bay shuddered. A secondary explosion somewhere deep in station. Alerts blared. Korvax's neural interface flashed crimson. "Structural collapse in Sector 7, he muttered. "We have minutes." Myers gripped Lena's hand. "Go." Vela hesitated. The humans were vermin. Sacrificial vermin. And yet, Lena stood, hauling Myers' arm over her shoulders. She met Vela's gaze, waiting. The speaker of the Celestial, Accord, clenched her talons. "Bring the humans," she ordered. As the last survivors fled the dying station, the stars watched, cold and indifferent. But somewhere in the dark, something else watched too. The day the humans came. The escape pod shuddered as it broke orbit, its makeshift hull groaning under the strain. Vela clutched the restraint harness, her talons puncturing the synthetic fibers. Across the cram compartment, Lena worked the controls with mechanic's precision, her small hands dancing across panels never meant for human fingers. Myers slumped in the co-pilot seat, her breathing shallow, her remaining legs strapped down with medical tape and strips of torn uniform. Korvax monitored the rear sensors, his neural interface flickering. "The station's gone," he reported, his voice hollow. "But we're not alone." A shadow flickered on the scopes, something sleek and predatory, hugging the debris field. Not Krellix. Something worse. "Scavengers," Lena muttered. "They follow the swarm. Pick off survivors." She didn't look up from the NAV console. "We need to jump." Vela's crest flared. "This pod doesn't have FTL." Lena's smile was all teeth. "It does now." With a grunt, she yanked open an access panel, revealing a tangle of rewired circuits and a jury-rigged quantum drive, human tech, cobbled together from Dawn Chaser wreckage. Myers chuckled weakly. "Kid's been busy." The pod rocked as the scavenger ship locked targeting scanners. Korvax's claws flexed. "They're powering weapons." Lena slammed her palm on the ignition. Space twisted. The jump was ugly. A teeth-rattling, bone-grinding lurch through dimensions never meant to be traversed in a glorified lifeboat. The pod's hull screamed. Warning lights strobed crimson. Vela's vision swam as gravity fluctuated, her inner ears rebelling. Then silence. The stars outside the viewport were different. Unfamiliar. Myers groaned. Welcome to the ass end of nowhere. Lena sagged in her seat, her forehead glistening with sweat. Scavengers can't track quantum jumps. We're clear. Vela unclenched her talons. You modified this pod with human technology. The words tasted like bile. You risked our lives. You had no lives left, Lena snapped. Just corpses that hadn't stopped breathing yet. Korvax studied the star charts. These coordinates. This is one of your hidden colonies? Myers shook her head. Refueling point. Abandoned now. But there'll be supplies. Maybe a comm relay. Vela's mind raced. The humans had infested Zorathian tech. Planned escape routes. Contingencies. They'd known the station would fall long before she'd admitted it. The pod's comm crackled to life. A voice, garbled but unmistakably human, echoed to the static. Asterisk. Any survivors? Frequency. Fleet regrouping? Asterisk. Lena lunged for the controls. Myers grabbed her wrist. Could be a trap. Could be home, Lena whispered. Outside, the derelict refueling station loomed, a skeletal husk adrift in the void. And nestled in its shadow, barely visible, the scorched remains of a human frigate. Korvax exhaled. Your people are still fighting. Lena's fingers hovered over the comm. Always. Vela watched the human ship's wreckage drift. For the first time, she wondered if survival was the wrong word. What if the humans weren't running? What if they were asterisk luring? The day the humans came. The derelict refueling station hung in the void like a corpse picked clean by carrion eaters. Lena guided the pod through its skeletal remains of the pilot's instinct, her hands steady despite the tremor in her breath. The human frigate, what was left of it, loomed ahead, its hull scorched black, its name barely legible. UNS Vanguard. Myers stiffened in her seat. That's a Fifth Fleet ship. Her voice was raw. They weren't supposed to be this far forward. Vela's talons tapped against the console. Meaning, Lena said quietly, someone change the game. The pod docked with shuddering clang. The airlock hissed open to reveal darkness and the thick, metallic scent of old blood. Emergency lights flickered, casting jagged shadows down the corridor. Something crunched underfoot, broken glass, spent cartridge casings. The walls were gouged with claw marks that made even Korvax's mandibles twitch. Then a sound, a boot scraping metal. Lena had her sidearm up in an instant, the barrel unwavering. Identify. A figure stepped into the light. A human in tattered fatigues, his face gaunt, his eyes hollow. He carried a rifle, but it hung slack in his grip. Christ, he rasped. You're just kids. Myers exhaled. Captain Rivas? The man, Rivas, flinched at her voice. Myers? They said your squad was Kia on Orion's belt. His gaze flicked to Vela and Korvax, then back to Lena. And you brought friends. Lena didn't lower her weapon. Where's Fifth Fleet? Rivas's smile was a death's head rictus. Gone. We're what's left. He led them deeper into the ship, past makeshift barricades and the silent, sheet-covered shapes of the dead. The bridge was a graveyard of dead consoles and half-dismantled weapons. A handful of humans, maybe a dozen, looked up as they entered. Their eyes were too bright, their movements too sharp. Predators backed into a corner. Vela's crest flattened. These weren't survivors. They were something else. Rivas dropped into the captain's chair. The swarm's changing tactics. Hitting our supply lines. Cutting us off. He tapped the star chart. Red markers bloomed like wounds. They're hurting us. Korvax studied the map. Toward what? The core, Myers whispered. Lena's grip tightened on her gun. Why? Rivas met her gaze. Because we found something. Something worse than the swarm. A screen flickered to life. Static resolved into an image, a planet, its surface writhing with Krellick's biomass. But at its center, pulsing like a diseased heart, was a structure, Zorathian. Vela's blood turned to ice. That's one of our deep-range research stations, Korvax said, his voice strangled. Rivas nodded. And the swarm's feeding it to something. The image sharpened. The station's hull bulged, distended. Something moved inside. Something alive. Lena's breath hitched. You're saying we woke something up. Rivas leaned forward. I'm saying we pissed it off. Outside, the void stared back, hungry and infinitely patient. The day the humans came. The bridge screens flickered like dying stars, casting Rivas's hollowed face in jagged shadows. Vela stared at the pulsating Zorathian station, her talons digging into the armrest hard enough to split the polymer. That thing inside the writhing biomass, it moved with purpose, with hunger. We didn't wake it, Korvac said suddenly. His neural interface bled crimson warnings across his vision. This station, Project Icor, it was supposed to study swarm communication, to control them. Myers barked a laugh that turned into a cough. Yeah? How's that working out? Lena stepped closer to the screen. The thing in the station twitched, as if sensing her attention. It's not just controlling them, she murmured. It's changing them. Rivas rubbed his temples. 3 weeks ago, the swarm started ignoring our traps, started targeting medical ships first. Then they began. He trailed off, tapping a command. The screen split, showing Acrylic's drone, but its carapace was wrong. Smoother, almost organic. They're evolving. A chill slithered down Vela's spine. The Zorathian High Council had authorized Project Icor in secret, a weapon to end wars, to rule. And now, the deck shuddered. Alert screamed. They're here, one of Rivas's crew hissed. The viewport darkened, not from shadow, from mass. Acrylic's harvester, its underbelly studded with newly grown sensor organs, slid past like a shark circling prey. But it didn't attack. It watched. Lena's hand found Vela's wrist. Her grip was fever-hot. They're not after us, she breathed. They're after you. Korvac's interface flared. The station, it's broadcasting a signal. Zorathian neural patterns. Myers limped to a console. It's a homing beacon. For them. She pulled up schematics. The station's core, now a grotesque fusion of Zorathian tech and swarm flesh. Whatever's in there, it's building something. And it needs your brains to finish. Vela recoiled. That's logical. Rivas interrupted. His rifle clicked off safety. You built the cage. Now the monster wants your keys. Silence. The harvester outside pulsed, its new organs glowing faintly blue. The same blue as Zorathian neural interfaces. Lena exhaled. We can kill it. Myers snorted. Kid, we can't even scratch. Not the swarm. Lena pointed to the screen. Asterisk that star. The station. The source. Rivas stilled. It's buried under 100 clicks of swarm biomass. Yeah. Lena's smile was all teeth. Good thing they're expecting us. Vela's crest flattened. The child spoke of suicide as if it were a gift. Korvac straightened. If we destroy the station, the swarm might revert, or at least stop evolving. Myers coughed blood into her palm. Might. Outside, the harvester drifted closer, waiting. Lena grabbed a grenade from Rivas's belt. Only one way to find out. The ship's comm crackled. A voice, warped and guttural, echoed through the static. Zoratha. Not a word. A taste. Vela's claws unsheathed. We go. The harvester's maw yawned open, inviting. Dark. Wet. Asterisk hungry.